But now I'm going to show you something that's got accidentally got let out on MSNBC.
Oh.
And so here you go. This happened last Friday on the Morning Joe Ball.
So Jeffrey Sachs, chime in. This is very different.
First of all, I'm like, who's Jeffrey Sachs? I watch MSNBC all the time. I don't ever remember seeing this guy. Why? What? And I'm like, oh, so there's a new guy. I'm thinking, did the CIA just pull a new guy out to push the war? Who is this guy? And listen to what he says. And now you know why you're never going to see him on MSNBC. Here it comes.
Than just a war between two countries. This is as convoluted as it gets and could get out of control. I don't think people might really conceptualize, maybe even not this president, how out of control this could escalate.
It's true, but I think we have to step back and not put this in partisan terms. This is a U.S. mistake that started 7 years ago. And I remember the day on your show.
Mm-hmm. It's funny, right?
I'm like, I'm just thinking what you said. This guy will never be in
This is a U.S. mistake.
What a treat to hear someone like this.
Yes, what a treat.
I can already tell it's like, giving it to you straight.
Here it comes.
Like, when President Obama said, Assad must go, and I looked at you and Joe and I said, how's he going to do that? Where's the policy for that?
Right.
And we know they sent in the CIA to overthrow Assad. The CIA and Saudi Arabia together in covert operations tried to overthrow Assad. It was a disaster. Eventually it brought in both ISIS as a splinter group to the jihadists that went in. It also brought in Russia. So we have been digging deeper and deeper and deeper. What we should do now is get out and not continue to throw missiles, not have a confrontation with Russia. 7 years has been a disaster under Obama, continuing under Trump. This is what I would call the permanent state. This is the CIA. This is Pentagon wanting to.
So
look
other
how
people
quiet everyone else is.
Yes.
They're just like stoned. They don't know what to say.
No, they're like, oh shit, he's telling
off script.
He's telling the truth about what's happening. So he said this is the permanent state, meaning it doesn't matter who's elected. This is the CIA and the NSA. This is the deep state. Other people refer to it as the deep state, the intelligence community. He calls it the permanent state, which I like that because it lets you know that this is the permanent war machine, and it doesn't matter who's the president or who's in power. These are the people in power, the permanent state, the war machine. That's what he means. And listen, he goes on.
No way to do that. And so we have made a proxy war in Syria. It's killed 500,000 people, displaced 10 million. And I'll say predictably so, because I predicted it 7 years ago that there was no way to do this and that it would make a complete chaos. So what I would plead to President Trump is get out. Like his instinct told him, by the way.
Before, yeah.
That was his instinct. But then all the establishment, the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Pentagon, everybody said, no, that's irresponsible. But his instinct is right. Get out. We've done it.
This is unbelievable. He's saying everybody, New York Times, Washington Post, he's laying it down. And you see the stunned look at like, oh my God, this guy, somebody forgot to pay this guy. Is this guy not under contract? Does he not know? You just brought in someone off the street that they're going to tell you the truth. What are you doing? Look at them all just stunned, sitting there like, this is not how it's supposed to go. Here we go.
Damage 7 years. And now we really risk a confrontation with Russia that is extraordinarily dangerous, reckless.
Admiral Stavridis, President Trump had...
Reckless. So there's a guy laying it down, Jeffrey Sachs from Columbia University, and that's stunning. That's stunning. And it's funny that they all just don't go, wait a minute. We started this war. It was the CIA that went? It wasn't a natural uprising? No. You mean all the stuff that we shouldn't be doing this? This is actually us committing war crimes, and this is us breaking international laws? Yes. We're breaking the international law by going into someone else's sovereign country and bombing them. That's what we're doing. Judah, anything?
Well, I agree with everything you're saying. And also, if you look at regime change, and you can just look at like how it's just put morals aside. It's wrong, but morality aside, why would you even think it would work? I mean,
right.
That's like, let's say your neighbor's house. You walked over there once because some of the mail was delivered to you, so you just dropped it off to them, and you saw their living room, and you decided, oh, you don't like it. So the next day when they're out, you're going to break in and rearrange their living room and decorate it the way you like. Do you think that's going to end well? You know what I mean? So it's like, morality aside, how is regime change ever going to fucking work? It's just wrong on every level, And
It's never worked.
Yeah.
We tried to overthrow Syria in the 50s. We did overthrow Iran in the 50s, and then we installed a puppet called the Shah, who was a repressive authoritarian, and the people rebelled against him, and that's how we had the Ayatollah.
Yeah. You know who
go ahead.
No, I'm saying, you know who talks about this is one of my favorite movies is Starship Troopers, which a lot of people don't. Paul Verhoeven did it, and a lot of people don't realize it's actually
Tim
a
Allen in
satire.
that?
What's that? No, that's a different one. That's
okay.
Galaxy Quest, I think.
Yeah,
this is a hardcore action sci-fi movie, but it's really a satire on American imperialism. And the director's commentary track is the writer and the director. They're talking about the Shah. They're talking about U.S. imperialism throughout the Middle East and South America, and it's great. It's like right up your alley. It's right with what we're talking about.
I'll check that out.
We've been
definitely.
doing that for so long. It's
So now they throw it. Now they throw it to a guy who's been paid to advocate for war, and he's a colonel. And let's hear all the BS he has. So they go right from Jeffrey Sachs to this guy.
Dangerous, reckless.
Admiral Stavridis, President Trump has said,
He's not a colonel, he's an admiral. So they go to an admiral. Here we go.
going back now several months, that we should get out of Syria. That was his advice to Barack Obama many years ago, get out of Syria. What are the consequences if you walk away right now from Syria without responding to a chemical attack from the regime there?
Which I like how he unskeptically just repeats the government talking point that there was a chemical attack by Assad on his own people. He knows that they never did an investigation. He knows there's no conclusion. He knows that the last two gas attacks have been proven to be false flags committed by the rebels. He knows that, yet he doesn't say any of that. Why? Because he's paid not to say that. And he throws it to this guy like, hey, what if we put... So he's got to bring it back to war. So what Willie is doing now is like, wait a minute, I hear what you're saying, but what's the bad going to happen if we pull out of Syria? Bam, because he's killing people at camp. Bam. So he's right back on script. Willie is right back on script. Did you see that? Do you see how that's why he's a pro? It's like you don't even notice. He just dismissed everything Jeffrey Sachs just said. He dismissed it all and said, hey, what are the bad consequences of us pulling out after he does a gas attack? And ignores everything he just said. That's a pro. That's why that guy's he's wearing a pocket square as he advocates for war. That's why. That's good. When you're in a pocket square, come on.
Yeah, I think there are two problems with Professor Sachs's comments, although I certainly feel that sense of Middle East fatigue that we all have. And, of course, it's not just Syria. It's Iraq. It's Afghanistan.
It's Afghanistan, it's Somalia, Niger. Come on. Hey, and by the way, I love Afghanistan. It's going to be 18 years. We're in Afghanistan.
Term Middle East fatigue.
Fatigue.
I mean,
so he's trying to say the reason Jeffrey Sachs is saying that stuff, meaning saying that we started the war, it's a disaster and we better get out. So what he's trying to say is that this guy is reacting emotionally. He's fatigued. He's not really thinking it through. That's what he's fucking saying. Here we go.
Been a whole series of things that have generated the kind of feeling that says, let's just pull back. Let's get out of the world. Let's come back to the United States. I think there are two fundamental problems with that. One is the use of chemical weapons, I think, really does.
That's a double CK. That's what that is right there. Okay, because this guy is so that a chemical weapon. Right now, we're committing a genocide in in Yemen with Saudi Arabia. We don't care about people. If we cared about people being poisoned by chemicals, we would be bombing Flint, fucking Michigan. We don't care. And you see this guy's like this, like, what is he saying? Here we go.
And a response from the international community at a level of military strike. So I do support a strike here. And secondly, and I think Professor Sachs is correct to say this is a massive humanitarian disaster. I think the numbers are actually 600,000 dead and 14 million displaced. So I'm in complete agreement with him on the scale of this, but I would like to see the United...
I would like to see some more bombing and destruction. I understand 14 million people displaced, 600,000 killed, but... they use gas, so we need to kill a lot more people. So why? So it's bad to kill people with gas, but it's okay to kill people with nice Christian bombs who, when they explode, they hug you to death, I guess, or something. I don't understand. So that's, again, just stupid, but Jeffrey Sachs, what do you think about what that guy said?
Well, he's really anti-chemicals, which I didn't realize. It's like, just what you were saying, it's like, so killing... genocide with one weapon's okay, but with another weapon, it's right. Hey, let's say we're civilized here. Let's not do that.
And guess who used phosphorus in Fallujah? Guess who used phosphorus in Fallujah? The United States. Yeah. Guess who uses depleted uranium-tipped bombs, which is a fucking war crime? We do.
Even in Vietnam, I think there was stuff too. Yeah, crazy.
States try and be part of the solution. And here, what I would do is look back to the Balkans in the 1990s, which looked somewhat like Syria of today, and there was eventually an international solution, and it included the U.S. and Russia working together. We got a long way to go to get there, but if we just step away from it, as attractive as that feels to us, I don't think it's the right decision, either for the country or for the international community.
So now that guy, just so you're clear on who this guy is, he's an admiral, and he's a liar. He is the worst kind of person in the world because I know the truth about Syria. He was just, and I'm a nightclub jagoff comedian who doesn't know dick, and I know better than him. That's how I know he knows, and because he just got told it by a professor from Columbia University. And so now he's continuing not to know, and I'm going to guarantee you he's being paid by a defense contractor or somebody who's making money off of this war. That guy right there, scum of the earth, liar. That's who that guy is, and he's an admiral. And there isn't a pit in hell low enough for guys like that.
I think we've all had a lot of Middle East fatigue today. That term is just, how offensive is that term to to everybody, to the war victims there, and even to our own troops who've had deployment after deployment after deployment, and who are not allowed to say, U.S. troops aren't allowed to criticize people above them, so they have to just go along. But I would bet a lot of them know they know what's going on.
Of course they do. Yeah.
Yes. They know it better than anyone.
Yes, they do. So now Jeffrey Sachs is going to respond to this guy, and here's what he says.
This is great.
I don't think it's attractive, but I think we have to understand how this happened. This happened because of us. These 600,000 are not just incidental. We started a war to overthrow a regime. It was covert. It was Timber Sycamore. People can look it up, the CIA operation.
Timber Sycamore, look it up.
Together with Saudi Arabia, still shrouded in secrecy, which is part of the problem in our country. A major war effort, shrouded in secrecy, never debated by Congress, never explained to the American people, signed by President Obama, never explained. And this created chaos. And so just throwing more missiles in right now is not a response.
My only concern...
We need to go, it's, by the way, not to walk away, to go to the UN Security Council, as the Admiral says, to agree with Russia on a strategy for ending the fight. But ending the fight means that we stop trying to overthrow a government, that we stop trying to support rebels who are committed to overthrowing the government. That is where this war continues, because we, to this day, back rebels that are trying to overthrow a government contrary to international law, contrary to the UN Charter, contrary to common sense, contrary to practical path. We can't do it. And it's just creating ongoing crisis to the extent of facing an imminent confrontation with Russia.
So I think this is...
Goes against common sense, goes against the UN Charter, goes against international law. We're doing all that. Someone should... Now they have their justification to bomb us, except they don't have the might. So if there was another country stronger than us with a bigger military, they would start bombing us, and they would tell their citizens, we're doing this because the United States is breaking international law, which is why we said we went into Kuwait, which is why we went into Iraq, which is why we went into Libya, because we're enforcing UN charters, and we just showed you Wilkinson said that's not why we went in. We went in for oil. So is there anything worse than this, Jude? I mean, isn't it amazing to see it happen? It's almost happening like every 5 years now. Like Libya, it was Iraq, then Libya, now Syria, Afghanistan. It's unbelievable.
Well, these war manufacturing companies, like Boeing, Lockheed Martin, they got. It would be interesting to know all the connections they have with the politicians because they make so much money.
Yes.
And they're making all these weapons. Someone's got to be using them. They got to be selling them to somebody. Yeah. I find it interesting how so many people who are for regime change don't believe in climate change either. It's like, because we all want change, but maybe no to regime change. Yeah, not that change.
So after we did Iraq, the first time, we had guys like Robert Mueller. Now, they'll tell you Robert Mueller is his integrity, he's impeccable, and blah, 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 blah. He's the head of a spy agency. Anyway, he was the head of the FBI. Come on. What does the FBI do? They try to get people like civil rights leaders to commit suicide. They bug everybody. If you're trying to help the people, they smear you as a communist. So you get it, right? That's what the FBI is. And here's Robert Mueller, guy who's Mr. Integrity. Here's what he had to say during the Iraq War.
As Director Tenet has pointed out, Secretary Powell presented evidence last week that Baghdad has failed to disarm its weapons of mass destruction.
Now, if you know anything about liars, this guy's got about 30 tells flying right off him right now that he knows he's lying. He can't even make eye contact with the person he's talking to tell him these lies. He barely could get it out of his mouth. Watch. Here we go.
Willfully attempting to evade and deceive the international community. Our particular concern is that Saddam Hussein may supply terrorists with biological, chemical, or radiological material.
It's hilarious how much it's obvious he's lying and he knows it, right?
Well, he has that. He says may, so that's like his out clause.
That's his out claim.
Yeah.
And what he says, that's what we're afraid of.
Yeah,
we're afraid that Saddam may give
Yeah.
chemical weapons. Why? Because we gave him the chemical weapons.
Yeah.
It doesn't say that part.
Yeah.
But we gave Saddam the chemical weapons, so maybe somebody should invade us by your logic. So that's who that is. And let's just remember, Nikki Haley is pushing for war at Syria. She says, trust the USA. And there is Colin Powell saying, trust the USA.
Oh, wow.
Judith, thanks for being our guest.
Thanks for having me here, man. Keep doing your thing, man.
Okay, brother.
Yeah.
Please make sure you subscribe. Even if you think you are, you're probably not. Just takes a second to check and then click the bell so they give you a notification when we drop a video. They probably won't notify you because they're trying to suppress independent news, but that's all we can do. June 30th, we're in Portland, Oregon. If you can become a patron, we give you hours of bonus material every week. And we're on Steam It. We're steaming it right now. Plus, on Saturdays, we do our Super Chat. It's a solid chat Saturday. You ask us questions, we'll talk back. That's at 2 p.m. Pacific time on Saturdays. Thanks for your support.